Yo, 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 everybody. This is Steve and GI Joburg episode 375, 3 3/4. We are continuing our anniversary series. We started with 1985's 40th anniversary. We then spoke about the year 1995 and what could have been for GI Joe and what we actually got. So it's only fitting that we continue with 2005. It's the 20th anniversary of that year of Valor versus Venom. Sigma 6 had appeared on the scene, and I think it's time we did a little chat about that. But I'm not alone. I'm joined by my buddy Rob. Hey, Rob.
Hey, Mustache. Sorry. Hey, Steve.
It's me, Steve. And since Paul has a packed convention weekend, we are not going to leave you without a trio, dear listener, because we got my buddy from the Philippines. It's Rob.
Hola, mi amigo. Well,
Hola,
that's Spanish.
amigo.
And hey, it's Mr. Wormwood. It's been a while, man. How's Matilda?
Yes. Well, yeah, for anyone who's not watching the video presentation, I am currently rocking a pretty bushy mustache. I feel ridiculous, but I'm right at home here in Australia, let me tell you. No one seems to bat an eyelid. This is how people dress. I just need the what is it? The mullet. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, there
You
we
went
go.
with the Wild Bill
Rocking.
look.
Dude,
Been
I need
working
the
on this,
aviators.
Wild Bill look. You need the sunglasses.
But
man.
this is nothing new for you, Rob, because when we first met in the flesh back in when was it, 2020, before the world went into lockdown, I was working on a show that required a moustache. So it's the same old face, huh? Anyways, dude, how the heck are you? It's been a while. Introduce yourself, please, for anyone unfamiliar with the legendary Robert Kalupitan.
Well, my name is Robert Kalupitan, and I'm also going by the name of Shinker Gum. I also have a web page or website on Facebook called Project Dark Corp, and also I do collect most toys like GI Joe Transformers, Gundam. You can name a lot, but that's how it is, I guess.
Nice,
But
man. Okay.
yeah, thank you.
And you've decided to join us on a little GI Joe pod. So obviously, America's fighting man is pretty high up on those priorities. But I see some Transformers in the background there. Are they
Yep.
Transformers? Oh,
Well,
beautiful. Oh, and there's a classified
classified.
Zaymot.
Yep, the twins. And there you go.
Oh yeah.
You can see them, and
Nice.
Kamen Rider Ryuki. Just got
Ah.
these just this week.
Eclectic mix of good stuff. Is that Bone Crusher? What Transformer you got back there? Is that a Headmaster?
Oh, no, actually, it's the Predacons.
Oh,
Ah.
the
Sweet.
bull. What's his name? Headstrong? No.
Tantrum.
Tantrum. That's it.
Yep. It's
Oh
the
man.
European release, I think. I'm not sure. Can you guys tell if it's the Canadian release?
That is an original G1 in
Correct.
box. Oh
Yes.
wow. Here I was thinking it was a reissue. Like I bought the gift set. I bought the whole Predacon gift set. I think it must have been in 2005. If I'm not mistaken,
Oh,
it was way back then. Transformers
yeah, I
fans are
remember
spoiled.
that.
In terms of high quality re-releases of old toys, Transformers fans are way spoiled because
Yeah.
reissue bots, in many cases, are just as good as the originals, if not better. Fresher
Correct.
plastic.
Mm.
Brilliant.
Great packaging.
And the
Oh, and
new Compo Grip, which says rubberized hands. It's much more safer now when you put guns on it. It's much more flexible, pliable. And then you can
Oh,
actually
we
shoot without
segueing
worry.
into Joe already. I wanted to stay in Transformers just a little bit longer because when I
Sure,
think,
no problem. If you want to, I'm happy to talk about it.
dude, you put this
yeah,
in
of
my
course.
head. When the year 2005 popped into your mind, the first thing you shot back to me was, "It's the year 2005." And you know what I'm talking about? Transformers, the movie, which was released in theaters in 1986, but was set in 2005, which I suppose was the far-flung future at that point.
Mm-hmm.
A whole 19
Those
years
were the
later.
days. Yeah, you
Well,
never expected that.
what are your stories associated with good old Transformers, the movie?
Well, that was the time I thought that Jazz died. I mean, everybody was dying left and right. I mean, Optimus Prime, Starscream, Ironhide. If you remember, Prowl, my brother used to say, Jazz died. How? He got to watch it first, and then he said he died. His mouth was foaming like acid. Then I was
Mm.
upset for like a week. Then when I got to watch the movie and saw the ending, spoiler alert, actually he survived. That
Oh,
was
miracle.
really the best time for me as
Wait,
a
hang on.
Transformer fan.
Did he survive the movie? You see him at the
Yeah,
end, do you?
he did.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, he did.
I haven't
Actually, he
watched it
survived
in
along.
ages.
Which one? I mean, he survived. He survived along with Clipjumper and Bumblebee and Spike, which Daniel ironically saved them by dumb luck by shooting that
Mm-hmm.
lid on his stomach. I don't know what they call it, but it's more like an acid tub or something. That was
Mm.
the best
The
moment when he
cauldron
got.
of doom. Unicron's digestive acids. Oh man, that film was so dark for me. I think, well, yeah, GI Joe the movie and Transformers the movie shared a kind of a more macabre feel than what we were perhaps used to. Uh,
Mm.
yeah, between
Yeah,
Cobra
I mean,
Law and Unicron, there was some nasty stuff going on in those films.
well,
Very
it's the
mature
time
themes.
you don't. Yeah, you never expected a Transformer show or a US cartoon would be featuring death. I mean, you can imagine as a 6 year old or 7 year old kid watching that movie, then you're gonna see your favorite character die. It was
Mm.
like heartbreaking. I mean, 2 years together with that character, and then you can see him foaming in the mouth. How you can imagine
Mm-hmm.
that? It was really dark, but innovative at the time because you don't expect Transformers to do something like it. But in reality, the only reason why they did Transformer the movie is to kill up the original characters to put in new characters, basically, and new
Yeah,
toys,
man.
more like.
Toss out your Optimus Prime. Here, have Rodimus Prime. Enjoy. You should.
Brand new and awesome.
Ooh.
So
Everybody's
it's
blaming
a
him for that.
cynical reason to replace the characters, but it created interesting cinema.
Yeah,
Yes. Handing over
So
the
definitely worth
baton.
it.
I'm
but
surprised. I mean,
actually,
Rob, like often those films are derided as like really jumping the shark, but you just used the phrase they had very adult themes, and yeah, death. Oh, they kind of softened the blow with GI Joe. Hey, Duke's gone into a coma.
Oh.
But had it been the original scripting and plotting, before Transformers made the studio nervous, Duke would have bowed out in that film.
Yeah.
They even storyboarded a funeral sequence. I mean, those of you who are in the know, it's been the script has kind of come to light, and it was loony, man. It was crazy, but they absolutely, undeniably, like killed off Duke. You see
Mm.
his coffin vaporize, apparently.
there's also a
Anyway,
scene in. Oh, sorry.
let's
What
no,
was it?
well, Rob, if we want to stay with
Yeah,
GI Joe 1987, that's fine. But the topic does demand that we dip our toes into the noughties, and by way of like finding out where our heads were at in 2005, I've got a surprise quickfire topic for you both.
Oh.
Roger that.
In keeping with the anniversary, uh, I only realized recently that they are re-releasing Revenge of the Sith to mark the 20th anniversary of Episode 3.
Yeah.
Who
It's
were
really
Made
you
tons of
guys?
money, I believe.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
jeez,
It's
ridiculous.
outperformed in anything that Disney Marvel's done for the last couple of years, apparently.
Wow, a little taste of pre-Disney Lucasfilm. Like, I think people maybe have a curiosity to remember what that was like. But
Mm.
we're not talking
nostalgia.
about we're not talking about watching it now. We're talking about watching it back in the day, 2005. Rob, do you remember what you did to mark the day? You seem like the kind of guy who would go all out, put on a Jedi robe and swing a lightsaber.
Who, me or the other Rob up here?
Rob C. Okay.
Here.
Yeah, no, I need to specify. I'll always lead with the guest. Robert Kalupitan, please.
Well, we did watch it when it was first aired, and I remember that when I was with my girlfriend, that was the first year of our anniversary, if I'm correct. And we
Wow.
actually watched it. And she kind of like Hayden Christensen, but she didn't like. She's not into the movie much because she's more on a love story thing. I mean, but for me, that was my dark Anakin phase, if I
Mm.
remember, because I was doing emo stuff and somewhat my hair is longer that time. Those were the
Mm.
days. I mean, it was fun. How about you guys?
Interesting. Well, no, so what your the way you sort of approached life kind of tracked Anakin's descent. Were you loving and hopeful in 2000? What was it? 2001, episode 2, um, the romantic film, and then by the time Revenge of the Sith came out, you'd gone into your emo phase. Hope you didn't get your
Well,
leg and arms chopped off.
hey, both arms right here. Still working, I guess. But
Very
yeah,
lifelike.
yeah, it's kind of like it was kind of like as I said, it was the emo phase. It's more like a phase rather than actual being emo and
Mm.
depressed and stuff. But those were the days. I mean, as a kid, I mean, I was around 20 plus, and then GI Joe was kind of in limbo with certain figure launches in those days, and Star Wars were in their phase. I mean, it's kind of like
Mm.
how do I put it in words? Intriguing, yet I want to be cool, but it didn't work out both ways. So
And
that's it,
Rob L,
pretty much.
how did
Yeah.
we do Star Wars back then, buddy?
Well, obviously with Phantom Menace, I'm pretty sure you and Chris, your head boy from your school, you both dressed up for every single one of these things. Even after we were kind of a little bit disappointed with
Cosplay?
Phantom Menace. Yeah, they absolutely dressed up in robes. Well, I'm pretty sure for all three of them. I was kind of like the embarrassed friend. It was like I like Star Wars guys, but I don't like as much as my friends do. Um, or maybe by the
Well,
third
you
one
and
you'd
I
kind of
remembering
given it
these
up.
things. You and I remember these things differently. I think we only got our lightsabers in time for Star Wars Episode 7. So
Ah,
I think in 2005, so we were all in varsity by then.
yeah.
The group had dwindled a little bit. Like for Phantom Menace, we had a massive group. We got
Mm.
together on a Friday after school. We watched some of the original trilogy films. We had a big sort of Star Wars party. I had all my Star Wars toys splayed out all over the lounge. Phantom Menace was the big one. Then, I think we were in our second to last, or you were in your last year of school for
Mm.
Clones. We had a smaller group for that, and then it had dwindled even further. But I think we had a good base number of it was you, me, Chris,
Yeah, there was
Alistair,
still a bunch of
my
people.
girlfriend at the time.
Interesting,
But
interesting.
yeah, I don't remember dressing up. Hey, we were much younger men, so much more hopeful. Let's
Yo.
talk a little bit about where GI Joe was in 2005.
Interesting
Mm,
times. Wow.
Why would you say that?
Well, like I was just looking back because I mean I used Yojo for all of our research, and I was just going through
same
all of the
here.
figures that came out that year. Um, like there was this the Venom versus Valor, and then they also had like a bunch of other series. They had 3 packs with it was the comics. They had single carded figures of varying different constructions because obviously by this time they got into the new sculpt era, and that was the main focus. But they were still kind of hanging on to the original O-ring construction for some of the figures that they released. But generally, yeah, it's kind of like a bright, colorful array of strangely proportioned figures, which is what the new sculpt era mainly was. And although I do say bright colors, there are a lot of more like toned down figures, but it just feels like it was all over the place at this point. They're kind of reaching for almost anything to
Mhm.
kind of relaunch GI Joe because I think this is the
Well,
third or
about their
fourth year.
colors.
Yeah, this is the third or fourth year I think of the relaunch of GI Joe into the new sculpt era. Um, but they still didn't feel like they knew where they wanted to go with this relaunch of GI Joe. It's kind of my sort of feeling for this. There's some hits, but a lot of misses.
Look,
Agreed.
I'm amazed that GI Joe in this format had as many figures as it did because the focus between 2003 and 2005 was more squarely on the Sigma 6 line.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that
believe
was.
it launched in 2005, didn't it?
Oh, I thought it was earlier than
Yeah,
that, but I could be
2004, if
mistaken.
I'm correct.
Yeah,
Right.
around about
2004.
there-ish.
Did you collect the 8-inch figures by any chance, Rob? See?
Oh, well, I did. I used to have. Well, it's actually a story in the show now. The Night Watch team, and I
Yeah.
got
Mm.
yeah, and the two-pack Crockmaster and Bomb Strike.
Right.
Then I also have the Cobra Bat and Baroness, and I used to
Mm.
have the GI Joe Moray, but I sold it way back. I mean, I didn't like
Uh,
it because I missed
You're
the
talking
color.
about the one with the green sort of swirly paint pattern. For a
Correct.
time, GI Joe did that. They're like, instead of actually sort of doing paint applications to create
it was like
camouflage, they would just
swirl
do.
with hand around.
Yeah, well, no, it was the plastic mix. They would
That's a
chuck
cool
in, I
trick.
suppose, different plastic pellets, and they wouldn't mix it completely. They'd just pour this swirly. It looks like one of those candles that have
Mhm.
Mm.
multiple sort of colors set
Marbling,
into
I
them.
think. It's
Yeah.
Marbling, that's
marbling.
it. Very good. That's a good term. But I was curious if you bought any Sigma 6 action figures. Were they big
I
in the Philippines at the time?
Mm.
Well, I do remember they sold quite well here because it's kind of like the classified of 2005, and unfortunately, I never got to get any of those because
Mm.
most collectors get it on pre-order in those days, and I was still kind of like mm, still focused on the classic GI Joe figures kind of way, so I didn't get the chance to get those Sigma 6 figures. But they are
Mm.
amazing. They were the best I got.
They were
I,
very interesting, I think.
So I mean, well, 2005 was the year I restarted collecting GI Joe again. That's
Mm.
why it's kind of like Sigma 6. Yeah, they were there. Then the newer Joe figures, like I do actually like some of the releases, like the web exclusive Cobra Night Watch, the Shadow Crimson Guards, the 2005 Bomb Strike, of course. But
Mm.
there were misses, I have to admit. Most of the repaints are more like pastel colors, and I don't really like the colors. It's more like bland. At the same time,
Yeah.
it looks more cheaper.
Yeah, they're kind of like bright colors. It's a mix of colors, but yeah, it is kind of like a dulled down brightness, if that makes sense.
Mm.
so, in terms
Uh,
of the history of the 2005 line, I think we can't get past the fact that this year marked the first time we could buy direct from Hasbro. Like
yeah.
their sort of toy shop offerings started to dry up with the figure 3 packs and the Valor versus Venom series.
Mm.
Instead, they were offering very good repaints and some extremely good unique vehicles,
Yeah.
but you would purchase them directly from Hasbro. And while Rob and I didn't actually purchase from Hasbro directly, we bought via a seller on eBay.
Yep.
I, to this day, recall thinking how incredibly cheap these toys are. And not cheap in terms of construction, like affordable cheap. We're
Yeah.
used to buying vintage toys that are sort of filtered through the secondary market and, of course, various sellers' markups at that point. But to get something as substantial as the Rolling Operations Command Center or the Rhino as cheaply as we did, like
Mhm.
back then, I think they were like, were they $40 and $60 respectively?
At that size, I
Something like
mean,
that.
quite cheap.
That's
Mm.
insane. As a vehicle that big, like a rolling command center for
Mm.
$60.
It's
We had
basically
it so good.
nothing.
Not to
Yeah,
mention the fact that
it was
the
good.
rand was particularly, well, I say particularly strong. It was a lot
Yeah.
stronger back then. It was 10 rand to the dollar. Now it's
Yeah, which
20 rand to
is
the dollar.
20,
So
yeah, half as strong as it used to be.
it was a good time to scoop up as much GI Joe as possible. And boy, oh boy, did we do that.
Hmm.
Be it vintage
Those were
or
the days.
those were the days. So let's stop dancing around it. Let's talk about our top threes from that era. They can be vehicles, they can be figures, they can be figure multi packs. Let's start with our guest, Robbie C. What did your eye fall upon for 2005?
There were quite a few, so I'm gonna go with the first one, the two pack,
Okay.
Bomb Strike and Crop Masters.
Mm.
Both figures together, it's okay. I mean, for every figure I got in those days were imports. So for me, a new figure like Bomb Strike here, she's actually one of the cooler ones. I mean, she was the newer figure. I mean, the female figure that came out. She didn't get quite a impact in the comic books or the series. However, she has a cool background. I mean, she is a forward control operator, the one who points where to shoot the bombs at. And also, she has a brother who's actually a Cobra. Battle, I mean, I think. And both of
Hmm.
them are fighting against each other. But as I remember her background, she got kidnapped by Battle Roll. And I
Mm.
didn't know what happened to her afterwards.
Was it Barrel? Was it not Blackout? Blackout was the
I'm not.
Cobra brother.
Oh,
Barrel
yeah.
Roll was just was yeah, very
Oh,
so yeah,
the other brother, I think. Yeah, I think she's
The
the
other
other
brother
brother.
kidnapped her.
Hmm.
oh man, the fat interesting that Valor versus Venom era kind of created connections that went beyond like the 6 degrees of separation of Snake Eyes. Like
Mm.
making a pair of brothers, one Cobra, one Joe. That was an interesting plot device, and I wish there was some lasting effect of that. But I feel like
Mm.
characters that were new for this era are largely ignored, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's true.
Bomb
I mean,
Strike
she
has
was a
gotten some shine, though. Larry has adopted her in the mainline comic book.
I haven't read that. I mean, I haven't read the new
It would
ones
be the
from
later
came out.
IDW era, so
Mm.
pre Skybound, but yeah, sort of in the say the mid 200s of the run, but who's to say?
That's one of. I mean, that was a long time. But why did you Steve? But I really want to. I want to see that. I mean, what happened? I mean, can you? I don't mind about spoilers, of course, but can
I
you tell me
think
what
there's a sequence where she's
happened?
exploring the pit. The pit has been taken over by Cobra, and Bomb Strike is kind of somehow integral to retaking it. I must be
Mm.
misremembering. Look, she's got some cool, like sneaky stuff, like infiltration stuff going on. And hey, I mean, an opportunity
Proper.
to illustrate a new female character, I suppose, is always going to
Mhm,
be an exciting challenge for whoever's on the art chores.
mhm.
But yeah, I could stand to see more of Bomb Strike, and I could stand to see another version of her, perhaps. Like this new sculpt era ain't bad,
Mm.
but I don't know. Come on, Super 7. Give us a classic O-ring bomb strike, please.
I mean,
I
as female
wish.
figures
I
go, she's pretty
wish.
good. I mean, the proportions are quite nice. I mean, I think if anything else, the new sculpt era did get a lot of the female figures looking pretty decent. I think overall, they're nicely proportioned, and generally nicely articulated. Like the new sculpt era articulation and kind of like weird anatomy stuff they did to the male Joes, kind of making them very superheroic, doesn't affect the female figures so much. Um, and
I don't know if I could agree with you there, but sure, Rob, sure, sure.
No, I think she's quite good. And weird enough, actually, this is I went through all of the figures for this year.
Good
And one of
boy.
the big things I noticed is that not a lot of figures come with appropriate accessories.
Right.
Um, they often come with just like weird stuff. Obviously, they all come with a little communicator which you attach the gun to. Um,
Hmm.
but not all of them come with cool backpacks or like nice guns that that they're actually nice. And she's one of the rare ones that comes with what feels like a unique backpack that I believe the radio accessory kind of attaches to. So
Oh
she
yeah.
can kind of
Oh,
like
that was
attach it
the
to the
whole.
backpack.
I mean, I never got that.
Yeah, so it can attach
Ah.
to the backpack, but then she can obviously also take it out and kind of use it in her hand, um, which is nice. Which is very different from a lot of the other accessories that a lot of the figures come with. Like often they just come with a gun, or they come with like a little helmet or something, or like I mean there are some nice things, but they would reuse them. I think Overkill came with a drone at one point with legs you
Mm.
could attach to it, but that was used previously with like I think another Night Creeper figure the year before. Um, So yeah, actually, she is my first pick as well. Bomb Strike.
Lovely. Oh, great.
I
Cool,
zeroed in on
man.
her because it's also it's a new female figure. As I said, I think she's fairly well constructed. It's not offensive like some of the other new sculpt era figures, and I think she could still fit quite well with O-ring figures. You could kind of look slightly past the slightly different proportions. And without having compared notes between me and Steven, I can almost guarantee you that the other two ones on my list are going to be on Steven's list. I'm pretty sure I already know what his number one is, and he knows what my number one is, and then that kind of like vice versa makes us know what our number twos are.
This is my number one,
I
actually.
Oh, wow. Leading
well,
with
there we
the,
go.
the high
The
scorer.
2005.
I think if this little instruction booklet or leaflet that I've got on the screen at the moment is anything to go by, I think the radio slides into a sort of cavity on the
Yes.
backpack. And then there's still a cutout for something to be inserted. But
The hole in it.
what is that
Okay.
for? Could you put a
Yeah, that's
backpack in that? So stack the backpacks?
Possibly, without having had experience with the figure, I can't be 100% certain. But still, she comes with cool accessories. Not to go on too much of a tangent, but something I did discover about this year, there are a lot of characters, for whatever reason, come with paintball guns. I don't understand it. Frostbite, Gung Ho,
Oh.
and Shipwreck all come with a paintball gun.
War games, I mean? Maybe?
Possibly. I just don't understand it. It's weird. They come with their own accessories, but then they all come with their own paintball gun. I suppose for like practice or something, but it was very interesting to discover that at least 3 of them all come with a paintball gun, and I didn't get it. I was just like, where are we
This
going
is
with this?
news to
G.I. Joe?
me. Well, the ones that were sold in the 2-pack came with a paintball gun.
Yes.
I think the single-carded Frostbite would have perhaps not had it. So let's see what the instructions say. Okay, so he has a snowboard that has a missile outrigger.
Yeah, a snowpedo that attaches to it. Yeah.
I don't know, man. I guess
And a
war
paintball gun.
games.
For me, it's kind
Possibly.
of familiar. I think they mentioned it before about a storyline where they actually tagged them with these paintballs. It's Cobra. That's it. That's
Oh,
all I know.
interesting. Okay. Yeah, I didn't do much research into it. I just discovered it as I was kind of like going through this year. And also something you'll find interesting, Stephen, is that when they single carded these figures several years later, actually, so often the characters that came out in 2005 in a 2-pack came out in 2008 as a single carded figure.
With
Those
no
single carded
accessories.
figures with no accessories.
Oh,
And they were like
yuck.
super cheap. Apparently, I mean, from what I could see on Yojo, they were only $3. But it's kind of gross. Like you don't even get the very few accessories that you would have got originally with these characters.
Well, I think that's Hasbro just squeezing on every last dollar. They probably had a lot of back stock that maybe was returned. So instead of clearancing it down at like a Ross store, they
Yeah,
put
it's
them
kind
out
of like
again.
repackaged them.
There you go.
Same thing. That was how
But
how much-
no explanation on the packaging for the paintball gun.
Yeah, not
But there is
specifically.
it does come with a comic, and I'm not sure where that comic would be reproduced on the internet. So if you have that comic in your possession and you're listening to this, drop into the comment section and let us know why
Yeah.
Frostbite has a paintball gun.
And Gung Ho and
And
Shipwreck.
Gung Ho.
Why do 3 of them come with?
They're so badass. They don't even carry bullets. They just shoot snow serpents with paintballs.
Got him. You have to give up
We
now,
gotta
Snow
bruise you,
Wolf.
man.
Yeah.
No,
Funny.
I hate bruises.
All right, well, I'm going to chime in with a figure that my eye fell upon this time. I tried to look at 2005 with a fresh eye and not like go too obvious too soon. But
Yeah.
within the direct-to-consumer line, obviously they're dealing with a lot of repaints, but a very handsomely dressed repaint is in fact Major Bludd version 6, who uses a whole bunch of blackout parts, but has a new head sculpt and comes with a shawl and a helmet that really sell you on this being an update for Major Bludd's look. And it absolutely works that way. This is the way he
That's
appeared
good.
in Devil's Due. around about the same time with a very small eye patch, nice penciled mustache, little soul patch. Like this is
Mustache.
a great looking redesign for Major Bludd. Big cobra symbol on that sort of signature, like really
Buckethead.
point. Well, the helmet's got that kind of like peak to it, which is quite unique. You know, it's not like a typical Fritz style helmet, which has a sort of a straighter brim. This is very signature Major Bludd helmet,
Mhm.
um, and they've reproduced it very nicely here. I mean, in fact, there are some proportion issues, but there are also proportional wins that like even beat out his version 1 figure, which if viewed with a critical eye, like version 1 Major Bludd from 1983 or 4, uh, is kind of weird. Like the head sculpt is very reflective of the time. It's kind of too bulbous. This is a very svelte figure. This 2005 direct-to-consumer version.
Yeah, it's
Nice
pretty
bit of
decent.
gold. Yeah, I'd say. So that's what I'm gonna show for the class on
More
this
cartoon
episode of
accurate.
GI Joe.
Hmm.
He has that mustache. It's more. I mean, he looks more like the Major Blood we watch in the cartoons rather than from the original actual toy. I
Yeah.
do miss, however, the bionic arm, which this one doesn't seem to show it.
Well, it's contentious. I always assumed that he didn't have a bionic arm, that it was actually just armor on his version 1, because his Supersonic Fighters version, which is the one that I had, dropped it. Rob got the Chinese Major Bludd, which was,
Mm.
I think, General Hawk's upper body with lamprey's legs. That sort of dropped the bionic nature. It was only later on, sort of through the Resolute cartoon, and was it Resolute that had, I think Bludd is dead at the
Resolute,
beginning
he
of
died.
Resolute.
He died in
Mm.
Resolute.
So was it? Was there a cartoon that sort of made his arm robotic? Okay, Destro in Resolute had a robotic arm, so I'm thinking of the wrong character. But yes, the classified scale Major Bludd presentation is probably the biggest example of him being reset as having a robotic arm. Like
Mm.
it's not at all debatable. That is absolutely cybernetic. It's not just an armored covering. So that's where a lot of people have taken their Major Bludd, but I'm still in favor with him not being an amputee as well as having a missing eye. I mean, come on, give this guy a break.
Well, I have to agree because the cartoons, he never depicted that his arm is actually bionic either. So you can
Yeah.
consider the cartoon. Hey, the little guy's here.
Hey, he's
It's
visiting.
it's more like the cartoon, as I was saying. The cartoon, they never actually disclose about the bionic arm, so
Yeah.
you do have to understand that heck, everybody has its own interpretation about Major Blood, which is some
Yeah, which
person
is
in the comics
nice.
has a
It is
bionic arm,
open for
while the
interpretation.
cartoons,
Mm.
correct, correct.
You can't
And
choose for
this
yourself
one,
where
however,
who
is
he
more.
is.
Yeah, that's my point too. And you got to like him because he's more cartoon look than comic book, which is the
Mm.
non-bionic arm version. And he has that bucket head, of course, and the mustache.
Mm.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a good mustache though.
And that's make
It's
it
a
look
damn
different.
good head sculpt. I mean, for what new parts they did make for the direct consumer line, like the heads were on point. And let's
Mm.
just, like, I know that maybe this stuff is in danger of not getting enough shine from us if we don't do a spotlight. But when we talk about the direct to consumer line, we talk about like this version of the Crimson Guard, which Rob
Yeah,
purchased.
I do have it.
It's
It's very unique. It's fantastic. It's a.
It's wonderful. Also, a repaint with a new head sculpt. Like it
Mhm.
really works. Uh,
Mhm.
They
the
put some nice effort into the direct to consumer ones to actually make you want to actually have them. Because something that you'll realize with the new sculpt era is that yes, the O-ring figures often didn't have expressions on their faces, but the expressionlessness of the new sculpt era is very obvious,
Hmm.
especially because the paint applications on the faces often were not very good. Um, So like their blank expressions is very, very obvious when you actually see a figure with the face. A rare exception that Stephen is showing us now is Spirit. He has a very angry expression on his face.
True that.
Mhm.
Still,
He has a reissue, I think, with CoverGirl, the exclusive one, if I remember it correctly. They repainted
Hmm.
this particular spirit and then added him as a 3-pack. I'm mistaking about the 2-pack a while ago with
Hmm.
Hannibal, the one of the Spider clones, if I'm correct.
yes, you are
Okay.
remembering correctly. I think did they do him in black?
Oops.
Was he wearing sort
Well,
of
I
this
think so.
outfit
It's
but dark colors?
more like charcoal gray.
Right. Because that was Spirit's look in the Devil's Due comics of the time. He basically
Hmm.
was wearing like Snake Eyes' outfit minus the helmet or minus the head covering. So
Hmm.
he was Spirit from the neck up and Snake Eyes from the neck down, which is a cool update. You know, if you're gonna make Spirit this super badass, like almost martial artist plus shaman, you know, plus sort of mystic character, he does look very tactical. And it's a valid update. Like his classic look is, I believe, problematic. I don't know, stereotypical. Um, I always just love the uniqueness of it. But this
Yeah.
was a valid direction to take it for the mid 2000s.
He has a good story too. I mean, he did has a role in the comic books. It's ironically the IDW version, issue 16, was also a homage for CoverGirl's first appearance in GI Joe comics, Marvel Comics version, number
Hmm.
16,
Hmm.
which is,
Right.
I don't know if everybody noticed that,
Mm-mm.
which issue 16 was CoverGirl's first appearance in the Marvel Comics version, while they actually made a IDW version where she actually first appeared again in IDW in issue 16, along with
Interesting.
Spirit, along with Spirit and Hannibal.
That's a cool connection. That's a cool
You mean
like
Devil's Due,
repetition.
right?
Yep.
Sorry, yeah.
Hmm.
I was just remembering. I mean, her first appearance in the IDW series, I think she's like in a bikini. She's rescued Shipwreck from his submarine, like
Oh
No,
crashing.
that
wow.
was the second volume, I think. He did that the
That's
second
that's
Hmm.
volume.
that's IDW. We think Devil's Due, anyways. So there's a symmetry between issue 16 and issue 16. Interesting, very interesting.
Well, the
Rob,
guys doing
see,
Devil's Due really loved GI Joe. It's very obvious.
They
big
have
time.
a story for it, and then suddenly when they introduced Red Dawn, I think, when they killed off Lady J, that's where it gone down. I mean, I stopped
Mm.
reading Devil's Due IDW. Well, I don't know if they're both the same comic book company or it's
No,
only
no. So
like a branch one.
IDW took the license on some years after Devil's Due
Mm.
had finished
Oh,
their
I
run.
see. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh. So actually, as I remember it, Devil's Due now. Well, it was really amazing. I mean, the first 4 issues, we got comeback with the Dreadnoks, the introduction to the Cobra Bat again, then CoverGirl, then after that, Dawn Dawn Revolt. I mean, Red Dawn. I mean, I really hate that story. I mean,
Mm.
they have to kill a major character just for a shock run. And the worst part is, I think Lady J was pregnant at the time when she got killed. That's the issue. Is
Whoa.
that correct?
I really didn't read to the end of those stories.
Oh,
Like,
sorry
Turned
about
Flint into
spoilers.
this. It turned Flint into this sort of like rage monster. Like he
hmm.
grew his stubble out. He was like always depicted with dark rings around his eyes. It was a sort of
Oh wow.
a fall from grace for a celebrated hero. So either that does something for you or it doesn't. But I think reading it now would be fascinating. Like maybe at the
Mm.
time we were precious
Ooh.
about these things because we thought this was GI Joe canon. This is continuity. So killing off Lady J was unspeakable. Um, but now it's more, I suppose, of historical interest.
Yeah, like an Elseworld story, like what could have happened in G.I. Joe.
And there's some people who swear by it. Like they say, this continuity is my continuity. Like the Devil's
Well,
Due comic books are where my head's at.
they
Not me
certainly
personally.
didn't
I'm
have
speaking for these
mutant
people.
zombies in that continuity, I guess. So,
They came pretty close. Anyways, Rob C, if you've
Yep.
given us your top one, what are the runners ups? Let's have your second
Well,
place.
Well, I'm going with the. I think you're, or I'm going to change it this just because I think that's the same thing you're going to be gonna mention. I'm just guessing it. Okay, so I'm going with Baroness. The one that, speaking of the
Ah,
economy pack, that small carded figure. I used to have that Baroness too. I mean, she was mostly I've been getting female figures at the time because prices for the vintage one at those times, like Scarlet, she's so hard to find and cost like an arm and a leg at that time, and you just can't afford it at the time. I can't.
And even in 2005, they were fragile, man. Like Rob
I
got
agree.
one, and the
yeah,
crotch
snap that
flew
crotch
off.
so quick.
Never opened mine,
Hmm,
so I never
smart
know.
decision.
You, actually, the head sculpt, I didn't like the head sculpt. I mean, it's too small and long. I mean, it's too narrow like this.
Oh, we're talking
Yeah.
Baroness now. So is this the Baroness that you speak of on screen now in black?
Oh yeah, that's the
Oh
one.
yeah.
That is that like an economy pack with small carded figure?
I couldn't tell you. I didn't own this particular version. I got a two-pack that had this Baroness, but in blue, and she came with Hard Drive, I think his name was. But yeah, she was released on a single card as part of the 21st series, 2005, in the Valor versus Venom line. So yes, this is a single carded Baroness. Came with a rifle and a handgun.
Oh, that's the one. That's the one. All right.
The economy
Mm,
pack, yeah, very small card.
a
Quite
tiny
small. I mean,
pack.
you can grip it like this.
But at
And then
least
a
she
couple
came
of
with some
years later, they
accessories.
would dump the accessories. Yeah, at least she came with accessories.
Hmm.
The card art's good though. You can see it's actually really good. I mean, that's one reason why I bought it.
Yeah, that's one of the good things about this era. They generally had decent card art. I think they had essentially the same artist doing all of the card art,
It was
from what I
consistent,
could see. Yeah.
but it's never going to compete with classic presentation of Joe. Like this is definitely Joe, and it's kind of its let's try something new phase. Before I suppose the fandom kind of fought back and they're like, no, just give us.
Let's just go back to the old stuff, but it's decent. You know, it kind of it gives it its own character. You know, this era
I
having
agree.
a new artist kind of create the art for the entire line.
So I'm noticing a trend here, Rob. See, your first two picks, both female characters. Now we've got the first lady of Cobra. What about this version really does it for you, dude?
Well, it's Baroness. Can't
Sure.
really describe anything about it. And besides, it's the first Baroness I actually own since the vintage one. I already owned
Sure.
three of them. Then I saw this new version, which I realized is actually a reissue since it's the
Hmm.
economy pack. And then you mentioned that you had the two pack. So I was thinking, oh my god, this is the reissue figure. But heck, I do like the colors. I do like the hair. The only off-putting about this figure is the face. I mean, it's too
Yeah,
small for her body. That's the main gripe I have with it. But other than that, she's quite actually a decent figure.
yeah, it's a good representation of her. I think I have an earlier one from 2002, and I think the proportions on this one are much better. The 2002 one is like way too thin, and her head sculpt feels a bit too big for her body.
Well, they went the opposite way on this one. Her head sculpt is tiny. In fact,
Hmm.
her shoulders are the same size as her head. If you took her hair away. But that was a
I think it's
symptom of
bigger
the
as her
time.
arms.
You've just kind of got to get over it
Hmm.
and embrace the fact that you got a Baroness figure that was very durable. You could put
Hmm.
any
Rubberized, yeah.
sniper rifle in those hands and not fear breakage.
Hmm.
But you say you
Yeah,
kept
it's a
yours on
good pick.
card, Robert C?
Those comfort grips. I mean, yeah, since I have three, I'm playing with three classic Baroness. Why should I open this one?
Fair enough.
Besides,
Fair
it's
enough.
kind of like I like to keep the card better. I mean, as I said, I like the card art, so I kept it in card. Most of my
Hmm.
collections are actually, I actually buy two at least if I really
Okay.
like the
Oh,
figure.
dude, it's the only way I roll these days, man. I'm pinching pennies, but then again, I'm sitting on a quite a respectable collection. So anything else that
Hmm.
comes in, it's basically a budget buy. I'm with you there. And like the Philippines
Yeah,
doesn't
the
have a
Terradome is a
thriving.
budget buy.
The Philippines, I know, to have a sort of a thriving vintage toy culture. Do you guys have big like toy shows, like toy markets, or is it mainly
Yeah.
just in the malls?
Well, we do have an annual toy convention.
Mm.
I'm not promoting this because I'm not really connected to them in any way.
Mm,
Philippine Toy Con, which actually happens this June and December. And
okay.
Oh, so it's twice a
there
year.
was
Okay,
okay. Can you repeat that? I didn't. I
it's
missed it.
twice a year, yeah. June and
More like
December.
3 times now. There is
Oh,
also a
okay.
summer prequel,
Okay.
which was held this March 25th and
Mm,
30th of March this year. And I was at an event with Super Sendai teams. I don't know how to show the pictures though. However, yeah, I do admit there were a lot of toys there. There's actually sellers for GI Joe, Transformers,
mm,
yeah, vintage and new ones. But the sad part is they're not cheap anymore. I mean, can you like
mm,
as I said, 2005 was the best year for vintage GI Joe because you can actually buy them for cheap at that time. I mean,
mm,
those were the days where collectors are really growing up, having families, and I was single at that time, and it was great. I mean, I get to buy those toys that I really been looking for, like Cover Girl, the Hydrofoil,
mm.
the USS. I keep saying USS Flag. I never had that one. I mean, the Mobile Command Center, and of course, some of the Cobra vehicles. I mean, that was. I have to admit, the new figures coming out. Then toy conventions were, and you were mentioning about how often toy conventions happen here. I mean, it's quite a lot. I mean, there's
Mm,
actually every month, especially in June or December, they got these toy conventions. They actually bring in new GI Joe Transformer toys as well as vintage ones. But nowadays
mm,
they just import the vintage ones from the US, those overstocks, those father's figures, and then sell it like around uh, 5 pieces. If you're lucky enough, you can buy them at 2,000 pesos, which is roughly $50 USD
mm.
if you're lucky. But
Mm.
if you're gonna buy a complete GI Joe figure here, it's gonna cost you around like $100
Wow.
flat. If you want a
You
complete
did
one.
mention some magic words in that. The MCC, was that the Spy Troops re-release version?
Nope, that was the original
The
1987.
Mm,
original. Okay. And here I thought we might have a chance to talk about the fact that they did reissue that toy around about this time and
mm,
featured
But
it in the Valor versus Venom film,
oh
which
yeah,
mind blowing.
mm,
Like just to see a toy from 1987 animated in that CG style of the early 2000s was cool. Like that was GI Joe's base for that animated movie, and that's like a huge high point for me because obviously just a toy fan, really. I don't care
I
what
agree.
what the plot was back in 2005. Though, granted, it was an interesting plot involving Venomous Maximus. Um,
General Hawk
yeah,
mutated.
well, keep it
mm.
zipped. I've yet to show Robert this movie, Robert L. So one day GI Joburg will get into the old animated
Whoa.
trenches.
Exciting.
But I'm Rob teed it up quite nicely, Rob L. That he and my top two picks are basically alternating. They are
Hmm.
vehicles. I feel fairly confident in assuming Rob's choices. We're talking the
So,
rolling operations command. Oh, you want to take it away? Go for
no,
it,
I was
brother.
going to say, so my number two
RCC.
and
Uh-huh.
Steven's number one is the Rolling Operations Command Center.
RCC.
And Robert's
Actually,
number one and my number two is the I can't even remember the acronym, so I'm gonna let Yo
I don't know
go.
what the acronym is, but it is the Rhino.
Rapid Heli Integrated Neutralizing Offensive Vehicle. The
They've
Rhinov.
they've worked
mouth,
real hard
full of
to
mouth
get.
chuck words.
They've worked
Hey,
real hard to make that into it.
he's got
I
his
dusted
Rhino
it
in the
off and
studio.
everything.
It reminds me of the Highwayman series. Any of you guys actually watched
Yes, I remember
Highwayman
that.
series? Yeah, it
Yes,
reminds me of that.
but that wasn't a truck, wasn't it? It was like a
Yeah, but
helicopter,
it
but in the
has a
back of a truck.
helicopter. That's right.
Yes, it
That's
was
the
an
one.
awesome looking truck. Oh wait,
It
that was
reminds
the
me
one
of
where
it.
the truck itself transformed into it, didn't it? It was the
Yeah,
front of the truck. Yes, I remember that show.
Rob
But
L,
yes,
I
actually
just want to
three
see this
seasons, I
toy,
think.
man. Do the thing. Do
okay.
the thing. Do the heli,
It's-
the integrated heli launch.
and it's a great feature. I mean, before I show it off, because it moves at such a great pace. It
Action gimmick! Action gimmick!
isn't that great? Because it does it slowly. It doesn't like pop out fast.
And
It
after
goes.
20, still works.
It's got resistance to it.
It's
Clever.
still going. It's still,
Smooth and
and
smooth.
there it
I
is.
really like
It's gorgeous.
Awesome.
And then it and then it. I mean, even the rotors kind of then top out,
And then
and then
splay.
the rotors come loose.
Mhm.
It's
And
fantastic.
have a very satisfying spin to them.
Yeah.
Oh, that is a good rotor blade.
In the Philippines, that one is one of the best vehicles for 2005, along with the ROCC.
Absolutely. It's one of the best things that has released directly. This and the Rock. I mean, it's fantastic. Yes, it comes originally with an absolute
Cannonball.
shitload of
Oh.
things that you can throw onto
A lot of
it
missiles. You can get it.
that
enough of
attach
it.
everywhere, which is kind of a bit too much. But it's gorgeous. I mean, there's so much room to like play with toys. I mean, there's spaces on both sides.
Mhm.
Um,
Carrier
so you can
transfer.
kind of
Yeah.
throw figures in there, and not just that.
Troop
The
transport.
rear part of the vehicle also opens, so you have compartments on either side of the back too. Essentially, the entire rear of the vehicle
Wow.
opens up.
I wonder if we can actually put a motorcycle in there. I mean, I haven't.
You
Mm,
might
I'm
be
still
able
thinking
to.
about it.
definitely a whale scout bike. You know, if you know the one that comes with the killer whale, but
What? It
something
doesn't
more
come with
substantial.
any scout bike. Oh wait, it does. Yes, yeah.
Something more
But
substantial like a ram or a silver
oops.
mirage. I don't. It would
Yeah,
be a bit of
Silver
a
But
foot.
Mirage. You just have to remove the buggy carriage, the
yeah.
sidecar.
Mm,
Rob hasn't
I
played
love
with this in a
that
while.
thing. It's
I
based on
haven't
its
played with
own.
it forever. But no, it's gorgeous. There's so much space to put figures
So
in here.
there's a curious little additional feature. You're actually sort of dancing around at the moment. Well, the side door that has a spring-loaded platform. So you load figures on. It's the other side, Rob.
Yeah, it's the side that fell off.
Yeah. So you load figures into it onto the foot
Mm.
pegs. You press a discrete little button, and the sort of platform that they're on shoots out. The door pops open, and they spring out at the ready. It's
I have not done that in ages.
here we
Does
go.
it still work?
Let's see if it works.
Okay.
Does it still work?
The black button,
Oh, there it
towards
is.
towards the back.
Please no, GI Joe. Oh.
It
It still
works.
works. I
It
was
still
about
works.
to say, expect explosions.
So
Yeah.
the
Whoa.
Rhino is so nice. They released it
Awesome.
twice. They released it a second time for the Rise of Cobra film,
So
but this time in a
good.
sort of a blue scheme
Mhm.
and with the kind
Yes.
of the stickering that reflected that era of Joe. You know, the badge with the eagle, and those are always going to be strikes against it. I
Much
think it looks
better.
better in black and better
Mhm.
with the classic GI Joe lettering, the tri stripe and the star.
They do reissue this one, right? I mean, I
The,
remember Rise of
Yeah,
Cobra.
they did it like once, and I think
ye-
Paul has that version, if I remember
the,
correctly.
Is it
the
Rise
Rise
of
of
Cobra?
Cobra movie line. Yeah,
Mm.
they did.
Which one's
But
better?
yeah,
I mean, this one or the newer one? I mean, the color schemes were similar, but some
I
of
would
the
always
schemes
say
is
this
yellow.
one because it's more plain, not plain, but it's less audacious, and it also looks closer to. I mean, I think we have said this a lot of times before, but it looks a lot like the Imperial, not Imperial, what the Marines vehicle from Aliens,
Colonial Marines.
Colonial
The
Yep.
Marines.
APC.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yes.
APC vehicle. There is actually a vehicle of it now. If I remember correctly, they actually made that vehicle. for
I
aliens,
think
but
they did, didn't they?
yep,
One
but
of
the
the
figures were
Hyatt
cheap.
Toys, or not? No, it wasn't Hyatt Toys. It was another company, I think, that made it.
Not really sure either. I just just saw that way back, and
Mm.
the alien figures were like color pastel types figures. So that's how I remember it. But the
Yeah.
vehicle, on the other hand, you can put GI Joe's on. It's 3 3/4, so you can actually use it for GI Joe.
Oh, that's
Higher
cool.
Really
Toys,
cool.
Higher Toys did Colonial Marines and Aliens, but also
Mhm.
Leonard did them as well. I think you might be talking about those
Really?
in the pastel colors.
I
The
think so.
Wow,
It's
xenomorphs
I
were all like,
newer.
didn't
I remember it's newer. Like they were advertising it as a new line for aliens, but I'm not sure what
know.
year. And then those figures
look,
were cheaply
Higher
made.
did an APC, an alien APC that is actually sort of screen accurate, whereas naturally Leonard, the budget masterminds behind the core, it was like a one-seater, just I suppose a visual representation or stand-in for the APC, but it wasn't scale accurate. Maybe you could fit
Mm.
two figures in it. I don't know, but
Well, it
Mm.
fun.
works.
Glad they
I
did
have to
it.
admit it works.
So, moving our attention over to the other contender for Toy of the Year, we've got the Rolling Operations Command Center. And right now I'm showing the box image, and I'm reminded of the fact that, Rob, you and I were treated to having these vehicles new
Yeah,
in
come in the
box.
boxes. Mhm.
What a
Ooh,
great
I wish
day
I
that
got
was.
that one. I wish I gotten that one. I mean, it was so damn hard to get. I mean, everybody's getting it.
Yeah,
Collectors
because
here
it's so
are
big
really
as
buying
well.
it.
It's a ginormous vehicle.
I think it has another vehicle inside. Am I
Oh,
correct or
yeah.
I'm just mistaken? Oh,
Mm.
So
yeah.
the Rhino came with a helicopter. The Rock has a stealth jet, a mini
Yeah.
jet,
Oh, yeah, that's the one.
and a launch rail. I mean, this is a toy that is trying to do it all. It's a
Mm.
articulated truck that is armed with like a multi-missile launcher, which is quite discreet. Like for a sort of spring-loaded missile launcher system, this is awesome. The missiles seat nice and deep
It's
inside
a
the
lot
launcher.
more discreet than what the Rhino came with. You attach
More like a
its things onto
miniature
it, it
launch
looks
pad.
terrible.
The
But yeah,
metal.
it becomes quite streamlined, and also the cab can be articulated, or you can kind of connect it, sort of slide it into the trailer to make a
Mm.
kind of a I don't know. It's not articulated. It's just like a single unit. It has a turret that is multi-positional and has a roof that possesses like canopy glass. Like the big distinguishing factor between the Rock and the Rhino is you have to imagine glass in the Rhino, but with the Rock, they actually did
It
mold
has the glass.
transparent plastic
Mm.
pieces. So it's weatherproof. um, came with not cannonball, came with long range, who
Mm.
actually was a sort of a secondary character in Sigma 6. So it's fun to
Yep.
have a Sigma 6 character in 3 3/4 inch action figure scale. And both these vehicles saw a lot of use in that cartoon series. I'd say, like, for a toy fanatic like myself, the most watchable parts of Sigma 6 are when they cut back to things like the Rock and the Rhino doing insane action sequences, because this was the era where
Mm.
you had animated, like traditional animation for the characters, and then CG animation for the vehicles. Like everything with a hard edge, everything like mechanical was computer generated, and so much fun. Like seeing this thing fire off a flurry of missiles inside a Cobra mega base, and cruise up the side of like walls in this like death tunnel. I mean, there's a great action sequences that are well worth unearthing Sigma 6 to watch. The
Hmm.
More
jet,
like an
the jet
anime
even,
basis.
yeah.
Hmm.
Well,
Anime, more
was
like
it Studio Gonzo who were responsible for
same
like
with Evangelion. Yeah. Studio Gonzo was also
and
a big friend of mine.
Armada,
Hmm.
Transformers Armada, and then
Ah,
Energon. All of that stuff of this era was like GI Joe and Transformers do anime with all the
Yeah.
exaggerated like, oh my god, no,
yeah.
like
The
character
Domingue.
moments, all those touches. It
I
was an
love that
interesting
show.
time.
Well, Scarlett's cute. I mean, she's like a really anime girl there. And then
Hmm.
Snake Eyes. Whoa, Snake Eyes. I mean, both Snake Eyes and Firefly. I mean, that was the only time I saw Firefly was a good guy. Then eventually,
Yes.
you
He doesn't stay good for
Eventual
long.
betrayal.
So I finally watched the end of the Sigma 6 series, and Firefly towards the end kind of he feels almost like a remorseful character for having to betray the Joes. So maybe they were going to script, if it had gone into a third season, he would flip flop back to being a good guy. I don't know. They seem to
actually,
kind of be
he
like,
did. That was the plan. I mean, I remember
oh
somebody
really?
talking about it at a convention. Their plan was going to be similar to Storm Shadow. Instead of Storm Shadow, they're going to do it with Firefly. But since it never
Interesting. You
happened,
don't see Firefly as like a remorseful baddie. You see him as an absolute baddie for the most part. He's a saboteur. He's the kind of guy who blows you up in your sleep. He's that kind of baddie. But I guess Sigma 6 had interesting plans for him.
Well,
Damn,
he's
man.
mysterious enough that you could do interesting things with him. You know, he has no backstory essentially until they start adding pieces to it later on.
yep, becoming one of
Mm.
those faceless masters as one of the assassins of
Mm.
Soul Shadow's masters. I mean, the key point about Firefly's story was he was responsible for killing the Hard Master, Soft Master and Hard Master,
Mm.
or part of it. I mean, and then later on he's supposed to die after he detected Splinter, then came back to life, actually surviving it after that incident with Cobra Commander, and some reason Cobra Commander forgives him for some reason, taking him back
Mm.
to the Cobra Legions, which is kind of confusing for me. I mean, you have to imagine he betrayed you, he killed you, and then you're hurt again. Welcome back to
It's
the
okay.
family.
You only killed me once. I survived that.
And then welcome back to the family.
Dun, dun, dun.
Cobra Commander. Right, it's terrible. But
What's
he was the
Rob,
most coolest one.
Rob C,
Okay.
I have to press you though, buddy. Between the Rock and the Rhino, which needs to take the top spot for the year 2005?
You're making me a choice that is perfect. Tell me which can get why not.
Well, as the guest, you are the tiebreaker, and this debate has raged through the halls of GI Joburg since 2005. Because Rob got the Rhino, I got the Rock. We both loved our vehicles, but we loved them a little bit more than the others. So, I mean, if an impartial third party like yourself, which would be the vehicle that you prioritize? Eek.
Kind of tricky. I do apologize with the noises. The dogs are barking for some
Oh,
reason.
the world is
Not sure
waking
what's
up
happening.
in the Philippines.
no
And we
worries?
got a lot of dogs. So back to the
Oh.
topic. I'm gonna do my best to decide and goes with the pros and cons. Basically, the
Okay.
pros. One of them is actually a command center, and the other one is homage to a certain TV show I used to like. Yeah, both APC formats, which is both plus, and lastly but not the least, both has a carryover vehicle, aerial vehicle with them. So it's you can imagine you're choosing one of the same thing with different
Yeah, they
models.
are similar, but they kind of express it in their own unique ways.
You're making me a choice, so let's see. If I do this a scientific way, I will do any, mini, my, mo, but this is not a democracy. I'm going with Rob.
Oh, very good.
I mean,
Rhino
I do like the
supremacy.
ROCC, but it doesn't beat the MCC for me.
Yes,
It's an
true.
awesome vehicle, an awesome mini base, but MCC still holds
Yeah, if
especially
you really have an
the
MCC, the Rhino I think does complement it very well, and
yeah.
it is a good complementary vehicle to either the Rock or to the MCC. I think.
Yep, The Rock on the other end, what makes it awesome? I mean, it's like the TV series Highwayman. I mean, they got a helicopter. It's like Mask. I mean, you can even add that. I mean, it's like Kenner's Mask vehicle. If there's a split second gimmick, it has them.
Yeah.
Elevating
And
action.
it seems more like it's the primary thrust of the vehicle
Mm-hmm.
to have this helicopter. Like the helicopter is so much better designed than the
Correct.
Rock's like
It's
mini
incredibly
jet.
well incorporated, and I mean, I didn't show it off, but I mean, once you launch the helicopter,
I really love that one.
the vehicle
How does it
still
flip ends, by the
looks.
way?
So there is a kind of like a point on the bottom here,
Oh, there it is. Mm-hmm.
and then it clips into this this kind of like stand part here. But like a great thing about it, because it raises up like this, is that when you remove the helicopter, the vehicle still looks good
Still
because the
As an
platform it
APC.
rests upon raises up to fill in the hole where it used to be. So even when the
Yeah.
helicopter is being used, kind of like flying around and doing things, the
Mhm.
vehicle still looks really good.
It's a failing of like old school GI Joe vehicles that when they had secondary split off vehicles, like you're left with a gaping hole.
Yeah, with a giant hole.
Whereas in the mid 2000s, they had this sort of mechanical
Fixed it.
system to replace that missing helicopter. And
Yeah.
just show us the helicopter itself, Rob. It is so well constructed. It is a a sort of an alpha size vehicle in and of itself. It is more engineered than like a Fang 2 or
Yeah, I'd say
a
so.
Locust. It's got a very handsome cockpit with some great like sticker detailing
And
and
it sits too.
and joysticks front and
Two-seaters.
back.
Mm.
Like you can pilot this thing from both positions. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Does need a bit of a wipe down, Robbie. Come
I,
now.
I dusted it. I dusted it very gingerly just before we did this. You would not
No,
believe
that's
how
how you
dusty this
know.
was.
I do believe because my
You say
rock
it
was
properly.
extremely
That's how you
dusty.
say
And
it.
can I just say that I had the greatest joy when I was visiting Cape Town last of like soapy bathing my rolling operations command center. Like
Ooh,
it was such a
nice.
delight to get that thing squeaky clean again. Because the
Jump
plastic
into
is
the
so
tub with
squeaky.
your toys.
Okay, I didn't exactly submerge it. It's got metal axles, and I'm fearful of them rusting out, much like
Warm
my
soapy water.
APC. Yeah, be careful. Anytime you got metal axles, my friends. Like I was devastated when I was playing with the APC, the 1983 APC in the pool, which is something that
Mm.
you're encouraged to do because it really floats. It is an amphibious personnel carrier. But weeks later, tried to roll that thing around the ground and the axles had rusted up.
Oh no,
And that sucks, man.
that
There's
really
no
Well,
going
you
does.
back
can
from
just put
that.
it with oil, I guess. You can make it work again. I mean,
Still,
like
you'll never get
destroy
that
that.
that sort of clean metal back,
Mm.
The
unless you
cleanest
somehow
part.
deconstruct it and, I suppose,
Yeah,
sand it
completely
down.
Replace
clean
it.
the entire thing.
Yeah,
But there's
just
no way
add
to get
Mm.
the
paint on it.
axles out of a 1983 APC. That thing is. Anyway, we're not talking about that toy. So, in your estimation, the Rhino edges out the rock. I will take
Mhm.
that on the chin. It's not going to
Actually, I
diminish my
like
love.
the RCC. Don't worry about it. I just
Oh yeah.
happen to make a choice. I love
Well,
the
I
RCC.
like both of them too, but I think obviously I own the better one. So
We are going to shift gears from the year 2005 now and revisit an old section that GI Joburg is hoping to integrate back into our
Mm.
podcasts called Postbox the Pit or
Oh my
comment section the
goodness.
Pit. I am delighted every week to read comments. It's about time we highlighted them on the show. So to that
Mhm.
end, the last comment my eyes fell upon, 1995 discussion, was that of Cody Scalf, friend of the show.
Ah,
He says, what I would have loved for 95, a Star Brigade starship with Admiral Keelhaul included. That was always the major thing lacking for me in Star Brigade. They had no space base or starship. I would have loved an HQ during this time that had an urban disguise, a cityscape facade that in actuality served as an operations center. That would have been so great for Ninja Force, Street Fighter, DEF, and a lot of the Battle Core figures. Lastly, I
hmm.
would have loved more named Cobra characters. I love all the rank and file Vipers, but it would have been great to see some more individual villains within or working in conjunction with Cobra. I don't really have anything to say to that comment. It's kind of open and shut, man. Cody, bringing the heat. Loving that. I would have brought
Hell
all
yeah.
that stuff. A space base for Star Brigade. Absolutely necessary. I mean, the Defiant was, almost a decade out of production by then. They needed a place to
They needed
kick.
something, to kind of add to what they were doing because they didn't have nice vehicles or no bases.
Nothing
Weirdly
even
enough, my
considerable.
my comment is also about a base. Also from episode 371, Cobra Emperor 66, O-Ring Collector, suggested would have been awesome to have a pyramid base for Cobra with that snake laser and to have 3 smaller jail cells, control room barracks, a trapdoor slide that goes to a room with spikes that close in just like the Star Wars compacted trash room movie room. The toy did it no justice. So he's kind of suggesting, like a proper base for Cobra, not just
Terradrome.
not just Terradromes, but like an actual like place that Cobra could have had as their own base. That's a cool conception of kind of like where they could have hung out. I thought, like a proper place for them to like chill.
A good synthesis of like classic cartoon Cobra bases.
Yeah,
They always had like a
the snake
castle or a
heads.
temple. Yeah,
Serpent Temple.
Yeah.
nice.
Well, I
Love
have
it.
some
Thank you. Thanks for
honorable
writing in, guys.
mentions because Paul obviously would have mentioned like 40 figures from 2005. So I'm gonna mention a couple more that I thought were pretty decent from 2005 before we wrap it up. So Shipwreck was pretty decent. He's not a good Shipwreck figure, but he felt like a good like jungle figure because once again he came with decent accessories. He came with like a cool hat that he wore. I think he came with a backpack as well. No poly, unfortunately. It's kind of like a nice version of a kind of like a soldier figure. Doesn't feel like Shipwreck, but it was a cool looking figure. Weirdly enough, the Torch figure was very good as well. I thought they kind of captured who Torch was very well. And he came with like a great flamethrower, which was fantastic with actual like flame attachment that you could attach to his to the flamethrower.
Mhm.
It's an
He looks
interesting
like a
kind of
Banjo
like
Ignore.
yeah.
You can actually notice that. I mean,
Yeah.
just jean pants. I mean, and then the tank
Yeah,
top.
and they're also experimenting, I believe, with tattoos at this point as well, kind of like attaching, I suppose, stickers to the figures. I believe he comes
It was
with
a
tattoos on his
precursor to.
arms.
They were
Oh
tampos. They were
yeah.
paint effects.
Yeah. So weird enough, I
Are those
thought they.
fade easily? I don't remember. I mean, I do used to
Hmm.
have these loose ones, but I never remember if they easily fade away when you keep playing with them. Those
Hmm.
tattoos, I mean, if they rub up.
I
I
can
don't
only
think they
imagine
do.
they were as
But
hard
maybe if you keep
wearing.
rubbing on them.
Hmm. Because you actually
Hmm.
use the arms to when you manipulate it and play it around.
Yeah, so it could be that maybe, but I don't know. Steven, do you think they come
I
off quite
I
easily?
I have no evidence to suggest that they do or don't. I mean, the tampos are fairly hardy, but what made them rub off easily on at least these sort of vintage figures was like creases and folds in the uniform themselves. Like anytime you had a raised bump that a tampo was applied over, like that area would get more rub.
Yeah.
So that would kind of
So it
disappear. I'm
depends
thinking of
on
like
where they applied them.
Cobra symbols or GI Joe unit patches. But on a guy like Torch who has kind of very smooth bare arms, maybe they would have survived better. Look, anything
Yeah,
from
I'd
this
like to think
era,
so.
unless you played the shit out of them, probably are surviving in pretty good nick because like this is the era of Joe where people were collecting but not necessarily playing with. Like we were all older at this time. Like my new sculpt era Joes look untouched.
Mm.
Mm.
They just built them better than I guess. They just look like shit.
And as a
Overall,
result, we played
unfortunately.
with them less. Like we still we had some of this stuff, but we'd sooner play with classic GI Joes in the new vehicles than to take these guys and enjoy them for what they were.
Yeah.
That said, when I cleaned out my rolling operations command center, it only made sense for me to populate it with new Sculpt era guys, and that was a fun exercise. Like to take all the figures that would be like appropriate,
Yeah.
for that collection and put them in a vehicle that was made around that same time. That works for me. I no longer want to put classic ARA figures in a new sculpt era vehicle. It feels like they're kind of out of step with one another. So I'm only too happy
You've
to
become
like get.
an incredible purist now. This is incredible.
Yes, but it also
For me,
gives me an
unless
opportunity to give those new sculpt figures some shine. Like they have a role to play and they have a vehicle to populate.
Hmm.
yeah, the same thing. Same thing.
Any more
It's
honorable mentions, Rob? Or should we do
Well,
a round of dishonorable
all right. Well,
mentions?
one more honorable mention. I think the best
Okay.
2-pack from the year was the Frostbite versus Snow Wolf one,
Okay.
because both figures are actually pretty decent overall. There's no
good
offensive
choice.
coloring on the figures,
Mhm.
and they both come with actually nice accessories. Because a thing that I found with some of the 2-packs is that they would often favor the one figure over the other. So where like one figure would come with like one accessory, the other would come with an absolute ton of accessories. This 2-pack, they both come with like a nice selection of stuff. Frostbite comes with a snowboard. He's the snowpedo that attaches to it, the rifle, his paint gun, and the Snow Wolf comes with like a cool hockey
And the
helmet.
paintball gun. Don't forget the
Yes, and the paintball gun. Yeah.
paintball gun.
Well, the Snow Wolf and this is the version 2 Snow Wolf, by the way, who looks much better than the version 1 version. Comes with a helmet, a pistol, a rifle, the cleats that obviously you would wear in the snow, and a cool like cape. And it's
Mm.
appropriate. This is probably one of the best 2-packs as well, because they both are from that environment as well.
Interesting. The gun and the knight attachment over here on the right side. It's
Yeah,
kind
they
of
actually
unique,
go
right?
into the communicator.
Oh, that's nice.
Go
I mean,
figure.
that's good too.
Yeah, I
Gives you
think
an
they
The
just
extra
didn't.
starter.
the instructions are generic. Not every figure came with that knife and gun.
Yeah, necessarily, but I
But
think
most
if you
Joes
came with
came
pistol,
most Joes came with the gauntlet anyway. So
Hmm,
it was a
that's an
but it
weird
did.
addition.
play feature that I don't feel was properly adopted. Like,
Added
But it's
storage. I mean, it's good added storage. I mean, most figures
but
have
in an
some
awkward way,
accessories.
who wears a knife and a gun on a massive bulky communication device on your forearm?
GI
It's
Joes do. Come on, come
okay.
on.
I don't know. I think that in a previous episode of GI Joburg, we spoke about like the biggest misses from the New Sculpt era, and for me, it
Mm-hmm.
was this trend of like including a little black communicator thing that never looked great and was supposed to be for weapon storage, but was a weird. Nah, it was just it didn't work for me.
Didn't know
Sorry.
about the paintball guns.
Aww.
No, now I do. All right.
You keep mentioning that. Thank you, Rob.
Any
It was
stinkers, guys?
weird.
Would you like
I
to?
don't get it. Makes
Any
no
real
sense to me.
stinkers from this era that you guys would like to throw some attention onto?
Hmm.
Hmm.
Rob,
G.I.
anything
Joe
you
again.
really didn't like? This from 2005.
Well,
What?
there were a lot of Joe figures that I don't like. That's why I didn't notice it. And
Mm.
but however, there are some good ones. I like the Cobra Night Watch.
Oh
That set
yeah,
was awesome. It
I
was
have you to thank
basically.
for mine.
Hmm.
You're welcome. And
Well,
happy to see them on every play motion action. It's the best decision I ever made in my entire life. I mean,
oof,
actually, those figures are
the
awesome. I
best
mean,
decision you ever made in your entire life. Give me your toys. Well, you can make
actually,
that decision anytime, sir.
actually, you're the first one who actually I gave a figure that actually didn't solve it right away. I mean, I used to give
Hmm.
figures to my friends. Then actually a week later, they're gonna tell me like I sold it. Sorry, a friend, another guy told me
No.
I wanted so bad, so I had to sell it. I mean,
So I
it's
had
the
to
number one
sell it
excuse
on.
for
Oh.
scalping it. And then I just gave it to them. They sold it
Hmm.
like for example, this one somebody wants it so bad. I'm glad I didn't give it to him because the
Hmm.
following week I saw him selling a same set cost like in Philippine pesos 6,000 pesos, which is roughly our 100 dollars USD.
Hmm.
And when I gave this to Steve, I told Steve, you remember Steve, right? I told you that I wanted to give this to somebody who will actually appreciate it because this is something that I don't want to give it to anybody because I already had an experience with people just selling my
Hmm.
stuff after I gave it to them. Like they keep telling me their story that as a kid I always wanted that shop or something.
Oh,
Then
that's terrible
when
though.
I
It
met,
was a
yeah,
gift. Play with the toys.
yep, and
Well,
then
we
it came
opened
along.
this set together, Rob, which was
Hmm.
wonderful.
Oh, that was
What a great
at the time.
opportunity.
Oh, that was awesome. I mean, if I was just gonna open it by myself, I won't actually see
Hmm.
you opening it for the first time. It was awesome. I mean, oh my God, somebody finally opened them for me. They actually opened it in front of me,
To anyone
actually.
unfamiliar with the Cobra, to anyone unfamiliar with the Cobra Night Watch, it is a recasting of the Cobra officers and Cobra troopers in 2005. I think they lost the molds for the arms, but they used Roadblock's arms,
Yep,
and it works because they have gloves now, which is not,
Hmm.
you know,
fitting.
the classic Cobra
Huge
officer, Cobra
improvement.
trooper with the bloody body condoms. I mean, where are the gloves on those outfits? Anyways, lovely recasting, and making them these sort of midnight blues and grays
It works
with
so
lovely little
well.
color pops. The two officer figures are distinct. The one has a red mouth covering, the other has black mouth covering. The one has
Marking
purple
as a leader
accents, the
into
other
the
has
team.
red accents, and introducing a African skin tone
Oh
into the
yeah,
Hmm.
Cobra
that's
rank and
awesome. I
file.
mean,
It's a
yeah, a
big,
versatile
yeah.
figure. I mean, that's the best one. I mean, he's one of my favorite characters.
Hmm.
I mean, a good representation for Cobra not being just Caucasians or heck, you can be Asian now, you can be African American. I mean,
Yeah.
this set it was awesome for GI Joe Cobra collectors. I mean, it adds a diversity with your characters. Your figure's not just one basic figure, except of course for the classic vintage Cobra Trooper with the brown eyebrows. That's it. You got a black eyebrow version, which is common, and then the brown eyebrow version, which kind of like the straight arm figures. Am I correct?
Hmm.
Well, unlike these two, there's also I think there's also another one that's the Caliber's Venom, the 6-pack Cobra Trooper set, which is another version of these guys painted in Cobra
Ah.
classic Cobra colors to be the days. Yep, but this one
Yeah,
they
they
have a
went back to the
compressor head.
well on the Cobra infantry a few times in the new sculpts era.
Mhm.
A nice opportunity to get troop builders, and fortunately, unlike this sort of the Viper pit, which was a sort of I think a 6-pack, either 5 or 6-pack of Cobra Vipers, the Cobra Nightwatch figures don't have exploding crotches. There are mid two
They actually
thousands
surviving it?
O-ring
I mean,
figures where like the plastic is just really poor, and they just
I agree.
explode. Also,
Hmm.
the
I think
parts
that's the
choices
problem
on
for the
those
other one.
Vipers is problematic. You try and put a
Yeah, the Viper set.
Viper's thighs into a Battle Android Trooper's crotch piece,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't fit so good.
Hmm.
Oh, that's a
Whoops.
set. Sorry.
Whereas
Actually, the,
Roadblock's waist on these Cobra Nightwatch figures works
mm,
sublimely.
Hmm.
Guys, I think we're going to wrap it up here on GI Joburg
Yeah.
episode 3 3/4, or 375.
375.
Rob C,
well,
thanks for joining us, dude.
that's
Hope you've had fun.
I did. I mean, thank you guys for inviting me. It
Any
was
opportunity to
Yeah.
talk about Vintage Joe, right? Because
Hell yeah,
yes,
yep.
brother.
And I miss you
2005
guys.
is
I
a
mean,
vintage. Oh yeah.
I miss you guys. I mean, too bad Paul is not here. And I wish to talk to him too because this is actually the first time I get to chat with Rob. I mean, this is the
Making
first
it
time I've
even the
actually.
more
Well,
special. But we
then
will
we
remedy
have to
that.
do it again.
We'll get
It means we
Paulie
have
on.
to get you on again. You see, it's
My
all
God,
worked
Rob.
out.
No, I
There we
hope
go.
I can visit this episode again. I mean, join you guys one day. I hope so. It's gonna be
Absolutely.
joy. Thank you guys.
It'll be awesome.
Thank you. And while we're throwing thanks around, let's throw some thanks at the patrons. Thanks,
Yo.
guys. Chucking us a
Awesome
buck
people.
every month. Much appreciated. GI Joburg is a labor of love, but it is wonderful that our friends out there make the financial side a little bit easier. And thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting. All of that stuff helps the channel grow. And we hope that you enjoy the stuff that we do. We'll be here next week with another topic and maybe another co-host. Who
Look,
knows?
who knows? Anything's possible.
Yeah, Paul might be on a rotating seat. Maybe we won't have him back.
Yo.
We'll have another exciting guest.
My
All
God.
right,
You're
boys
gonna
and
take away
girls.
Paul?
Thanks for watching.
No. Thank you guys.
Rob,
And,
anything you'd like to pump on your way out, buddy?
well, first of all, I'd like to thank GI Joburg for having me here. And at the
No.
same time, I hope you visit my uh, Facebook page, Project Dark Corp. I do some GI Joes, Transformers, mainly Magic Knight Rayer
Hmm.
stuff. And I hope to see you guys there. And I hope to see you guys too again one day. Hope to
Amazing.
join you again.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
hope
Will.
to join you one day in the Philippines again, my friend. It was
Oh,
far
I'm
too
gonna
brief.
treat you for something good next time.
Ah,
Ooh.
So do you, Rob. Remember, I'm gonna give you something good too.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Want a
You have to
gander?
make that.
you beauty.
What
All
you
right.
saying?
Yo, Joe, everybody. Goodbye.
Yo, Joburg.